guys, and welcome to another exciting edition of Reading Ranch. I'm Katie Hunt, and I take my mother's more questionable literature and give it a 5-minute review based solely on the content inside and some of what's written on the back. So we're back with another exciting Christmas episode. Like I said last week, we were reviewing Diana Palmer's Christmas on the Range, and it was a twofer. There's 2 books in here. 2 for 1, which seems to be the common trend with these books. There's always 2 books in one because apparently one action-packed porno isn't enough. This week's book in Christmas on the Range is Cattleman's Choice. Cattleman's Choice. Ooh, sounds enthralling. Let's just dive right into it, shall we? Carson Wayne has come to Madeline Bush with the ultimate request. He needs her to teach him how to treat a lady. There's no doubt he asked the right person. Beautiful Madeline is as polished and feminine as Carson is rough and reclusive. It's too intriguing a challenge for Madeline to turn down. She's always been curious about what lies beneath the outlaw's hard shell. But what she didn't count on were her own feelings for the irresistible rebel. Call Disney. I think we got ourselves a winner. Cowboys. Bobby, apologize, she called. I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne, came the prompt reply. Carson glared up towards the limb. All right, you. Madeline had to grit her teeth as Carson went through a round of imprintable words before he let the shivering boy come down. Okay, wait. So we can't swear in the book, but you'll diddle her and it won't be edited out. Where's the line? Thanks, Bobby said quickly and ran for it before Carson had time to change his mind. He just swore this kid up and down. The kid's like, thanks, I love you, bye. He let his hand fall. I don't know why I did that, he said. She never wondered before about his love life, about his women. But the feel of his mouth had fostered an unexpected intimacy between them, and suddenly she was curious about him in the ways that unsettled her. We better go, she said. Jake will be worried. She turned, leaving him to follow. She couldn't have borne having to touch him again until some of the rawness subsided. Rawness. You know, people's choice of adjectives unnerve me sometimes. Like, rawness? Jake opened the door, frowning when he saw her face. You okay? He asked quickly. Just battle-scarred. From a kiss? Calm down. Why are you nervous? He asked her, his head lifted so that he was looking down his crooked nose at her. You've been alone with me before. You've always dressed before, she said without meaning to. Is that it? He watched her face and deliberately flicked open the button he'd fastened. Does this bother you? He asked in a deep, lazy tone, moving the shirt aside to let the hair, roughed expanse of his chest show. Her breath caught, and she didn't understand why. Her lips went dry, but she barely noticed. He lifted her hand with slow, easy movements and brought her fingers to his cool skin, letting her feel the hard muscles. No flab, she laughed unsteadily, trying to keep things light between them, but her legs felt shaky. Not a bit, he agreed. I worked too hard for that. He pressed her fingers hard against him and moved them in a slow, sensual pattern down the center of his chest and back up again. I don't suppose you brought a fishing pole. We're talking about you being half naked! Why are we talking about fishing poles now? This is some weird innuendo I'm not catching on to, apparently. He chuckled. Want to clean them for me? She frowned. Carson, I hate to be a drag, but I don't know how. Uncle didn't fish, you know. They're talking a lot about fishing in this one. Her lips trembled, and embarrassed, she pulled away. I'll get started on the fish. See? Fish! All the time! He watched her for a minute, speculatively, and then he smiled. I'll get some potatoes to fry. He was quiet through supper. She enjoyed the crisp fish, but Carson seemed preoccupied. Want to call it off? She asked. His head came up. What? Tomorrow night. He shook his head. No, I want to learn to dance. His eyes dropped to her soft mouth. With you, he added softly. Her chest felt tight. He was doing it again, using that wicked charm that she hadn't known he possessed. I have to practice on somebody, don't I? He asked when he saw her hesitation. I thought teaching me how to make love went part and parcel with teaching me to court a woman, he added with a wink smile. Oh, they're not really dancing. I get it. Are they not really fishing? He reached across the table and took her small hand in his, rubbing his thumb over the silky skin. Haven't you ever wanted a man? Or was it that exclusive upbringing that kept you innocent? That exclusive upbringing is the downfall of a lot of girls, she murmured dryly. Most of the others were quite experienced. Didn't you date? That brought back painful memories. Oh, Christ. He was wearing one of the new outfits they'd bought him. Tan slacks with a patterned shirt and a casual white and tan plaid blazer. Ew. He was freshly shaven, and his hair under his Stetson was well groomed. He smelled of fine cologne, and he looked good enough to eat. Well? He asked impatiently. She stood aside to him, sensitive to the sweeping glance he gave her. You look very nice, she murmured. So do you. Good enough to be the main course, in fact. She grinned. I'd give you a rash. Ew? Wait, ew. What disease do you have? Why would you tell someone that? That's not... When looking for a sexual partner, it's not like, hey baby, you look hot. No, it's like, I'll just give you a rash. It was so sweet. So sweet after all the long days and nights of wanting and needing and loving and pain. She slid her hands over his shoulders, up onto the thick dampness of his hair, and sighed, shaking as her mouth opened and answered the tender pressure of his own. His lips lifted, then came down again, kissing away the tears and the pain, while she sobbed softly and tried to stop crying. Carson, she whispered achingly. It's all right, he whispered back. His hands trembled on her face. He kissed her again, so tenderly that it hurt, and she moaned. I'm so hungry for you, she moaned. So hungry for your mouth, your hands. She's talking like Kirk in old Star Trek. We must travel on to sex. She crashed her mouth against his, drowning in sensual pleasure as he answered the hard kiss. His arms slid under her, pulling, crushing, and she thought if she died now, it would be all right. Life would never offer anything more beautiful than this, than Carson wanting her, crashing against her lips. Patty said once that I should seduce you, that you'd probably let me. His fingers traced her mouth, unsteady and gentle. That would be one for the books, wouldn't it? A shy little virgin seducing an outlaw like me. Virgins apparently can't seduce. We don't have to do it, he said. I have to, she breathed. I have to! Why? He asked. His hands were fascinating on her body, and she stretched like a cat being stroked, loving this rough tenderness. I want a baby, she whispered. They always want to get knocked up! They always want a baby! I just want to have kids! I want to be irresponsible and have irresponsible sex and have a child with you, even though I don't really trust you because you're an outlaw and you're gross and you're mean and you swear at Bobby. But let's make a baby, because that makes sense. No! It gets one. It gets one cowboy hat, because that's ridiculous. This whole book we talked about fishing and swearing at children and trying to seduce someone even though you're a virgin, and all it comes down to is, I just want a kid. I'm using you for your spunk. And that ain't right. So thank you, Cattleman's Choice. Clearly you've made one. And that's it. If you like this book, please subscribe. Make sure you like it. Leave comments down below if you so wish to. This is the second in our 4 weeks of holiday cowboy novels, so I'm excited for next week's choice. And I hope you'll join us. So until next time, I'll see you later, cowboys.